Okay, this screencast is all about enzymes and the wider group that they belong to, which is proteins. So we've moved on from cell transport now, and it's really important that we understand how and why enzymes work in the body. And this is going to be important when we move on to processes like respiration and photosynthesis that involve enzymes. So your task is to make notes on the following slides. Pause if you need to, if you hear something that you think is important. Write things down from the slides, draw some diagrams if that helps. I'm going to give this task 2 days, including SciPad, Education Perfect, some YouTube videos, etc. So enzymes is going to be 2 lessons. If you don't manage to finish it in 2 lessons, I really need you to be finding time to do this as a form of homework, say after 2 o'clock. The school day is really short, so it's not that big of an ask, but we just don't have the time to finish all of these units in half an hour a day. So we're trying to keep to the same course calendar, but we've got half the time to learn things. So I need you to be autonomous and responsible and do these tasks. You're not doing it for me, you're doing it for you. Okay? Half-assing it and getting it not achieved is a waste of time. So yeah, that's my suggestion. Let's move on. As you can see, I've requested that you write notes in your exercise book, but if you don't have that with you, you're going to need to open a Google Doc and start making notes there. Um, you should have one anyway, because last week you had to write notes on active transport. So yeah, so continue on with that. All right, so today we're learning about enzymes. Hopefully, you know a little bit about enzymes or have an imagination of what they look like or what they do, because they have come up before. So, the 2 things that we're going to do today is describe the numerous structures and functions of proteins in the body, and then one specific type of protein, the enzymes. We're going to be able to describe how enzymes are involved in essential life processes, and that includes, what they do, what they look like, how they work, just the basics. Okay, so we're going to start off with proteins first, the bigger, wider macromolecules. So proteins are very large molecules that make up almost everything in your body. Um, if you keep zooming in on a protein, you'll find that they're made up of really small molecules called amino acids. So this is an amino acid here. It's a number of atoms, um, chemically joined. And then these amino acids can join together in long chains. So you've got different amino acids here. So this amino acid is different to this amino acid. It's different to this one. They can join up in long chains called a peptide. It's like a mini protein. And then these peptides can join in even bigger structures, and we call that a polypeptide, so many peptides. And a polypeptide, if it is functional on its own, is called a protein. So it does stuff in the body, and there's lots and lots of things that proteins do, and it's not just making muscle. Okay, you can get protein from your food, but your body can also use the constituents of the proteins that you eat and make new proteins, the proteins that it wants and needs. So really commonly cited foods with proteins are your meats, fish, eggs, nuts, legumes, beans, all of that stuff is really high in protein. But these foods aren't just made of protein. So they are also made up of quite high levels of fats. So you get saturated fats, trans fats, animal fats in your meat and eggs. And then you've got healthy lipids and things like that in your legumes. So fats are also really important in the body. For example, they're essential in making your plasma membranes of all of your cells nice and fluid, as we've learned. So all of these different macromolecules are really essential in life, and you need to make sure that you're getting a healthy, balanced diet of all of them. There you go. There's my little tidbit for the day. This might ring a slight bell from year 10 and perhaps 11. The central dogma, which is the 2-step process of creating proteins, basically, from your DNA. So if you're wondering where proteins come from, that is really the job of your DNA. It's a long, long chain of instructions that basically tells your body or the cells exactly how to make certain proteins. I don't want to get too deep into this, but because it's not really that essential for this unit just yet. So we have DNA being transcribed into RNA, which is a single-stranded piece of genetic material, and then that RNA is being the code is being read and translated into a set of amino acids being put together by your ribosomes. So the organelle in your cell that is responsible for this job, it reads this code of RNA, and every 3 bases is called a codon, and that can code for one amino acid. And then it reads the next codon and connects another amino acid, etc., etc., making long peptides, and then these peptides are built together into larger proteins. Okay. So some more keywords that we need to learn. It's worth looking these up and writing down a definition or writing them down from here. The amino acid we can think of as the kind of single building block. There's a single piece that gets connected in a chain, and this is considered a monomer. So mono being one, a monomer. Connecting a number of monomers together will give you a polymer. So poly meaning many. So many of these smaller units being connected together creates a polymer. In this case, it's an amino acid being connected into a peptide, but another monomer would be glucose, for example, or simple sugar molecules. That would be a monomer. And you can connect a number of those together to form starches and other carbohydrates, and that would be your polymer. So a larger macromolecule created by connecting lots of smaller molecules. So these are the general terms, monomer, polymer, but in the specifics, when we're talking about proteins, our monomer is the amino acid, and our polymer is a peptide, and then an even larger polymer. When you join those peptides together, you will get a polypeptide. So another type of multi or many monomers stuck together. So how your body uses amino acids as building blocks. How does it turn these monomers, amino acids, into really complex proteins in the body? Okay, amino acids you can think of as the building blocks of proteins, like one single Lego. Okay, there's around 500 different types of amino acids in nature, but we employ about 20 of these in the body. So 20 amino acids in the human body make up all of the proteins. So when you connect them in different orders, you can make lots of different peptides and thus proteins. So 9 of those 20 amino acids we can't make in the body. We can use them to create things, but we can't create the amino acid itself. We have to be getting them from our diet. So it's essential to be eating a really wide, varied, protein-rich diet in order to get all of the amino acids and other nutrients that you need from your diet, because your body can't make everything that it needs. So these are what we call the essential amino acids, the ones that are essential in your diet because they can't be found anywhere else. However, every species would have a different set of amino acids that it uses and essential amino acids it needs to get from its diet. So out of those 500, different animals and plants and fungi, etc., employ different amino acids in their processes. So here's a quick look at the 20 common amino acids that the human body will use. The ones with the dotted line around the outside are the essential ones that you have to get from your diet. So you can see they make up quite a large number, and many proteins will contain these essential amino acids. So it's really important that we get these. So when we were talking about codons, or 3 bases on their RNA that get coded into a certain amino acid, there is a note of each codon that would code for leucine, for example. Each codon that would code for proline, for example. So when you have an accidental mutation in your DNA, your body can make the wrong proteins because they're creating the wrong amino acids. And this is what leads to all genetic diseases, pretty much. It's a little fun fact for you. Okay, so we're going to move on to looking at how proteins are built. So again, we're not just talking about enzymes at this point. We're talking about all proteins in the body that are used for all different things. And we're going to explore a number of those later. So protein structure or creation of proteins happens in 4 steps. Not every protein completes all 4 steps. Most will stop at tertiary structure, so third structure, and some make it to quaternary structure. And you can remember these, it's quite simple. It follows the same wording. It's ironic because I can't find the word for the word. As you know, schooling. So you go from primary to secondary or high school. Tertiary, that's what we call university, tertiary education. And then we pop the 4th one on the end. We don't go that far in our education, but quaternary is the 4th. You can think of quarter as being 1/4. It's kind of a way to remember it. So quaternary structure is number 4. So you need to be making note of this. The 4 levels of protein structure. Primary we'll go through first. So primary structure of a protein is very simple. It's simply the connection of amino acids in one long chain, creating a peptide. So it's just a 2D or flat chain of amino acids stuck together like beads on a necklace, you can see here. So here you can see lots of different amino acids, and you could go back and have a look at the names for these if you wanted to. So any of the 20 amino acids being put together in a chain, okay, connected by peptide bonds. So the bonds within a protein, that makes sense. Peptide, protein. Oh, whoopsies. Yeah, well, that's as much as I wanted to say on that anyway. So secondary structure. So once it's made a long chain, the next step would be for that chain to kind of curl in on itself, still relatively flat as if it was on a table. Okay, but this occurs as a result of certain amino acids on that chain being attracted to each other and pulling the chain in a kind of curl. So you can see I've made an arrow there. Maybe this amino acid is attracted to this one and it's kind of pulling in there. Okay, and this is the result of hydrogen bonds, or hydrogen on each of these amino acids being attracted to one another. It's quite a weak bond, and so you can see here if this was a peptide chain, so you've got all these hydrogen bonds connecting or drawing these amino acids into each other, resulting in the necklace curling up on itself. And this isn't even closer structure. If you were looking at the molecules, dotted lines represent hydrogen bonds, but these thicker lines represent peptide bonds that are holding all the amino acids together. Tertiary, so step number 3, or university level protein structure. So now our curvy peptide starts curling around and becoming a large twisty 3D structure. So this would be as if you took that necklace that was all wonky all over the table and scrunched it into a ball. Okay, so now it's more of a 3D blob, and we call these globular proteins. So kind of a round blobby structure. And there are all sorts of bonds responsible for pulling all of these together. And you can see some of them represented here. So you've got hydrophobic bonding, you've still got hydrogen bonding, disulfide bridges, etc. So all sorts of things pulling this necklace into a big ball and holding it together in a blob. Okay, that's your tertiary protein structure. And last of all, not all proteins make it this far, but some of the complex proteins will have a quaternary protein structure. So this is when many of those globular necklace balls are stuck together in an even larger molecule, such as this one. So this is hemoglobin here. So you can see 4 globular protein subunits all connected into one massive ball. structure.